Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Louise and today I wanted to make a video about politics. Not as in politics, but the actual word politics and being involved in politics. So I've come across quite a lot of spiritual people that often think that they are sort of beyond politics and above politics. And they say, oh, I don't get involved in that stuff. I'm into oneness and excuse me, I'm just recovering from a cold. And they say, I'm into oneness and, I don't get involved in that duality, blah, 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 blah. But politics essentially is meaningless. It doesn't have all this meaning that people have prescribed. I think what people are really meaning is, I don't want to argue with people, right? I don't want to get involved in these crazy arguments that are going on between the two sides where they're just sort of like hammering it out and people are not really able to have good discussions on it and they just end up in a slanging match, essentially. That is what now people have come to associate as politics. But in my opinion, that's just putting a meaning onto politics. And I think nearly everybody in the world, especially spiritual people, are actually interested in politics. They've just associated politics with arguing about two leaders. I actually just wanted to start this video with the definition of politics, which is the art or science of government and governing, especially the governing of a political entity, such as a nation, and the administration and control of its internal and external affairs. So pretty loose definition, but that is the official definition of politics. How I see politics myself is deciding how you think the world would run most harmoniously and optimally. I personally see politics as coming up with systems as to how the world could run most harmoniously, and I guess keep the most people on it happy-ish, right? No one's going to be 100% happy. I've also heard people that don't like politics say things like, I would just put loving policies in place. And the thing is that you can put the most loving policy in place. If you were a leader, you could put something totally loving in place that in your opinion is loving, and that is going to be really hateful to somebody else. If you say, for example, I want free meals for all children, someone's going to find that really hateful because they're going to say, well, I don't have kids, or I don't think they should be entitled to free meals. You can have an argument from everything, and you'll find that somebody will think absolutely everything is unloving. So that one kind of immediately goes by the wayside. But what I find then is a lot of people then just don't want to engage in it at all. And the problem I personally see with this is that what I kind of started to notice is that all the people with kind of moderate beliefs that sit somewhere between the two extremes just don't want to bother with politics. They think, well, it's not really my bag. I've got other things that I want to be working on. Maybe I'm too compassionate and empathic to get involved. I don't really want to get involved in all the arguing. So those people just step out of the system, and then what we're left with is these two really extreme polarities that are the only people with like a real passionate interest really in politics, and everybody else has decided they don't want to get involved in that and they've kind of stepped out. But if those people actually stepped in, they'd probably be the majority, right? And they would probably be, because when you stop and talk to most people on the street, most people are kind of roughly common sense, middle ground centrists. And I think probably the world would be happier if it was ran by middle ground centrists. Now, don't get me wrong, people would still be unhappy on both sides, but they wouldn't be so unhappy they'd want to riot all the time, because that kind of comes from having your needs so unmet and having such the opposite in play that you have to riot because you can't live like that. Whereas if your rights are just a little bit, they're not quite what you'd want, but they're not that far away, then you tend to just accept it, right? Accept it, that's good for the majority, and you roll along with it. So I think a lot of this happens because we're just swinging all the time. And then that's just no good for human growth, is it? If we're just swinging all the time, how are we ever going to progress as a society? Because in America, every 4 years, and here, like roughly every 5 years, well, we've had the same people in power for a long time, right? But certainly in America, they swing a lot. And so every 4 years, they're just basically dismantling everything they've just built over the last 4 years. And then in the next 4 years, they dismantle it again. And it just sort of feels like nothing ever is really achieved. And I do think the reason that a lot of people don't get involved in politics is because they think about what politics means to them versus what politics actually means. In true layman's terms, I see politics as four people wanting to build a house together, right? They want to build a structure and a system that would be good for everybody because everybody wants to live in a house. And the ways that they can go about this is they can argue about the foundation. So they can all have a different opinion on where the house should be built and where the foundation should be started. Now, if those arguments just start like get into a slanging match and everybody's calling everybody names and nobody listens to anybody, then there's no house going to be built, right? And if those four people just say, well, actually, I don't want anything to do with politics. I don't want to do anything to do with arguing. I'm just going to step out and let people do what they want because, I don't want to be involved in this. Then no house gets built, right? However, if those four people can come together and say, well, we all want different things here. Is there any way we can compromise and all be happy? And they can find some way to do that. Then the house gets built, right? And there's a fantastic house. And then maybe they can move along and build a second house that fits somebody else's needs, or, you get the idea. And I think that politics isn't the problem. Politics isn't a problem at all, and politics is far wider reaching than I think people think. People have just now decided that politics is arguing about whether you like Donald Trump or Biden. But in my opinion, politics is everything. It's everything. It's wages, work, how many days a week you should work, food, how many trees we should plant. Politics is really relevant for nearly all of us. There's very few of us that don't come head to head with something that's been decided by politics every day. It's really important to all of us. And nearly everybody has an opinion on it, because a lot of the spiritual people that say, I don't want to get involved in politics, well, they do actually have opinions on, I would like more trees, or I think people should meditate in schools. That is all politics. Politics is just creating systems that work towards creating a world that you think is more idealistic. And I'm pretty sure everybody has their own version of a world that they think is more idealistic or close to their version of idealistic. And the problem is that a lot of the people that are compassionate and empathic step away and don't get involved in politics. And then we're left with the people that really don't care about negative energy and arguing and stuff, and those people rise to the top. And if more and more regular people actually thought, well, there's nothing actually inherently wrong with politics, and if we as individual human beings learnt to not be triggered by conversation and alternative opinions, then we could actually all start to have more of an interest in politics, and it wouldn't feel like some bad, horrible thing that we had to get involved in. It's people that are the problem. It's not politics. There's nothing wrong with politics. I'm sure very high vibrational countries still have some form of structure to get things done. Like without politics, nothing really gets done, right? Because it creates a structure and it creates a system within the country. And it can be a very, very positive thing. It's only not positive if it's going in a direction that's used to control people, or it's used for nefarious means. And I honestly think that the way people are incapable of having nuanced discussion over difficult topics is making everybody that actually could make a difference sit back and not want to get involved in politics, and just leaving it to people that don't care about negative attention. In fact, they're probably just dipped out while everyone else is arguing about it. So I just would like to change sort of politics and make it less of a scary, nasty, aggressive thing, and just remind everybody it's just a word. It's just a word, and it means something, and it's useful to have in society when it runs well. And maybe we could change our definition of politics so we're interested in it in a different way, And if we individually grow as human beings and allow ourselves to be able to have difficult discussions with our fellow neighbours and try and find some kind of compromise that maybe they're not 100% happy, maybe we're not 100% happy, but everyone's happy enough, then we could get somewhere, right? Rather than just arguing back and forwards and then people being like, I don't want to get involved in politics because it's just arguing. Well, that doesn't have to be just arguing. Politics could be radical. It could be amazing. It can change the country for the better. It really is what you make it. I love the Course of Miracles. Politics is just a word. It is meaningless. The only reason you think you want to step out of it and not get involved in it is because of the meaning that you've applied to politics, or the meaning that you've taken from politics from watching other people in politics. But I think politics is just a system that our world and country is ran on. And, you know, why not be a part of that? Even if it's just discussions with your neighbours, your friends. People have just become, it's people that are the problem. It's people not being able to have any discussion over anything that they disagree with without getting triggered. And actually, by just saying, I don't want to get involved in politics at all, I don't know if I really think that's helpful. I actually don't, but that's just my opinion. Obviously, everyone is welcome to disagree with me. It's the same as in a relationship. You can't have a conscious relationship with someone and never talk about problems or talk about things that could be improved in that relationship. That's not the point of a conscious relationship. A conscious relationship is where everything is brought to the surface, but both partners are capable of discussing with maturity and without being angry and triggered. And so you kind of go through the eye of the needle and you grow closer and closer together and you evolve together. And if you just say, well, I'm not going to bring anything up because my partner might react, you're kind of always living below the surface. And in my opinion, that's not the full expression of the relationship. And I think being afraid to talk about politics or afraid to have an opinion on where you would like the world to go isn't the ultimate, but it's to kind of go through that and be able to have conscious, calm discussions with your fellow earthlings about, or countrylings, about where you would like your country or your world to go. Until we can have those discussions, then all the people that actually could make a difference are going to not want to get involved. And I don't personally think that is the ultimate place that we're supposed to go. So that's my belief is, you know, should we all shirk away from politics because it's become a little bit of a dirty word? Or should we try to remove the meaning from the word politics and see it more as an amazing thing and a way to set really fantastic structures for a better or improved or more aligned society? And I'm just going to throw that over to you, or what do you think about that? And let me know in the comments, and bye for now.